Hey guys, it's John, ReelBlue Custom Rods, and welcome back to the channel. Today I'm going to do a video here on a decorative wrap. We're going to do the cross wrap. And this first one, it'll be just kind of a multicolored cross check pattern, if you will. So let's go ahead and get started. So I'm going to start off with some, and that thread is too big, so stand by. We're going to start off with some Pro Wrap Color Fast 325, which is red. So this is size A. So we're going to go ahead and get started. The first thing I'm going to do, I've got all my marks set up here, and you can see the different marks I have. So I have my spacing marks that I'm using, and then I have 1/8 of an inch on either side of those marks. And that's what I'm using for my spacing for this. And the idea here is that my cross angles will be as close to 90 degrees as possible. So I'm just going through and making these marks. And then what I want to do is I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to call this, I'm going to do red as my top mark. So I'm just using a marker and I'm marking my tape here. So I know what the top is for me, if you will. And then what would be the bottom of my wrap would be down here. So that's what I'm doing with those markers, just so I know as I'm wrapping. So now I'm going to come back. And cross, cross, cross. And again, I am making these cross patterns on my center mark, and again, I'm wanting to create a 90-degree cross. Okay, so that's the one. So what I want to do is just take a look, and I'm just kind of looking here to see, make sure I got a good cross. Again, I want these crossing points to be at a 90-degree angle. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back down on my top side, if you will, and I am going to be 1/8 of an inch away. An 1/8 of an inch away from where I was at before. And the spacing may not be exactly 1/8 of an inch. You're going to have to play with it and find out the angle that you like, or the spacing that you like that works for you, what you're doing. And so now I want to come back down, and I want to cross back over the one I just did. And it's getting our foundation set up here. Again, not a lot of pressure. I'm just wrapping and laying that down where I want it. And then I'm going to do one more, and this time I'm going to stay on the top, or what I'm calling my top, if you will. On my red side here, and then I'm coming over on that other 1/8 of an inch spot. All right, and I'm going to go down and come back over on that same spot. And again, you can see how it's creating kind of that box look. All right, not pulling tight on this thread. Just trying to make sure I'm crossing at the right spots here. Okay, and then we'll cinch that down. And then I'm going to come back with my burnishing tool, and I'm really just kind of making sure my threads are all equal spaced and that I'm crossed in my right points. And what I mean by right points is, you know, where I wanted to cross at. And what I'm noticing is I'm really aligning my middle thread for the most part. And I'm just going through here. Like I said, I'm making sure everything's symmetrical the best I can. All right. Yeah, that did not go where I wanted it to go at. And I think this needs to come down a little bit. Okay, and now I want to do the same thing on this other axis. And I'm just making sure these are all equally spaced the best that I can. And then again, you know, I went with 1/8 of an inch spacing. It may be a little bit more, it may be a little less. It all just depends on the diameter of the rod that you're using. So you're going to have to, there's going to have to be some experimentation on your part to figure out the right spacing, if you will. All right. So I know this is like tedious and quiet and stuff, but I think this is the important part here. So we have that all set up, right? And then now what I want to do, go and start back up here at the top, and I'm going to bring one thread on the inside of the outer borders going towards the butt. So I'll come up here, start my thread. Again, I want to be on the red there, so I'm going to come right on the inside like this. And then we'll come down. We're going to tighten that off and cut it. And we'll come back up, and we're going to do the same thing, but this time on the opposite side. All right, so that is the end of our second step. And then step 3, we're going to want to do the same thing, except for we're going to want to come on either side of the center wrap, but from the same end. So from the tip end of the rod, sorry guys, having a little thread issue here on the tape. So I'm just coming down on the inside. On either side of that center red wrap. Okay, so that's half of step 3 done. Now we're going to do the same thing on the other side. And again, not a lot of pressure. Okay. And then we've got that set up. Okay, so now for step 4, I'm going to come in. Oh, my apologies. That yellow was Pro Wrap Color Fast 101. I'm sorry, size A. And now we're going to come in with Pro Wrap Nylon 862. Or I could use Color Fast if I want to. I'm just going to use nylon here. And what I'm going to do essentially is I want to border the entire outside portion of the square. And what I mean by that is you guys will start to see here. Yep, I'm good right there. Actually, you know what I'm going to do? I am going to use some nylon. Just to say I'm doing it, but what I'm going to do, I think, is I'm going to probably use, or some Color Fast, excuse me. And I'm going to use size D. So this is 862 Pro Wrap Color Fast Black size D. And I'm just going to go down on the outside like this. And start to come back. On the outside going down. And then we're going to go back up again And this time I'm going to be on the bottom portion of that, framing it out. And then we're going to come down. Just like this. Okay. And we'll pull that tight. We'll cinch that tape down. And then what I want to do is I want to come back with my burnishing tool. And I just want to make everything dressed up a little bit. Not really trying to move a whole bunch of threads. I'm just trying to pack in my threads here. And I'm doing that all the way around. It's, again, you know, you guys have heard me talk about, you know, wrapping and packing. And when you got a bunch of threads, or when you have a bunch of threads like this going, you just want to make sure. I think if you come in and you pack frequently, it saves you a little bit of headache and a little bit of time on the back end. That's just my thought. But yeah, so I'm just making sure everything looks good. And I want to make sure that this thread is staying down on the tape. All right, let me come back over here. Okay. All right, so that looks good. So now what we're going to do is we're going to come back with our red Pro Wrap Color Fast 325 for step 5, and we're going to go down on the inside portions here, like kind of like what we did with the yellow. We're going to do the same thing with the red on the inside, going in the opposite direction. So the yellow worked this way. Now the red is going to work back that way. So we'll go ahead and get started here. All right. So we've gone down on one side. We want to turn back to the butt end of the rod. And we're going to come back down on the upper inside of that. And then once I have that secure, I'm going to take a pause and I'm going to come back with my burnishing tool and just pack those red threads the best we can without really moving stuff too much. And then the same thing on the inside. Oh man, damn. Pardon my hands, guys. Okay. Then I'm just almost done here. Just trying to pack these threads again just to keep them, you know, tight and looking okay. Okay, so now I'm going to come back with the red again. And this time we're going to go down on the center red on either side of it. So I'll come down on the bottom first. Again, I am not pulling tight with my right hand on the spool of thread because I don't want to put that thread under tension. I just want to have it snug enough to where it'll lay down next to that thread, and then if I need to move it, I can move it and it will stay where I move it to. All right. And then I want to do the same thing again, this time on the other side. Again, not a lot of pressure. And then that was step 6. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a little bit more tape here. Make sure we are good to go. And then again, what I'm going to do is I'm going to come in here and pack my threads. I know down here on this end, it's a little sloppy. That's okay. That would essentially be covered up. By when I do the overwrap on it to secure the wrap. And then again, I'm just going in there making sure this thread is packed, and then my spacing, I'm trying to keep my spacing pretty legit, if you will. Okay, now that we've completed the first 6 steps, we're going to go back and repeat steps 2 through 6. So for the next step, we're going to come back with 2 yellows, and work inward again. All right. And then we'll cut, go back down to the top or to the tip end. We'll do that again. All right. And then now we're going to repeat what was step 3, and we're going to come back down on that center line with the yellow. All right. And we'll do that one more time on the opposite side of the center line. Okay, and then we'll cut that. And then we're going to come back with our burnishing tool. And we're going to want to pack these threads, but we're not trying to move them too much. That's why I'm really trying to be patient and and when I lay the thread down, I'm really trying to get it in the spot that I want it at, because I'm really not trying to move these threads too much. Okay. I just want to be next to each other. Okay. This one. Okay. So now what we're going to do, now we're going to come back with the black, and we're going to border out the black. As you were, I'm going to come back on the top, because that's kind of what I did before. I started with the black. I came across the top first. Okay, and then come back down across the top. All right, and then we're going to go across the bottom. And then come back down on the bottom. All right, and then we'll cut that. And then we're just going to come in here and pack these threads. And then do the same thing going back in the opposite direction. And then we're going to go working on the other oops, and then come back down. The other direction. Okay, and then now that we have the black done, we're going to come back with the red, which would be step 5. And we are going to wrap on the inside, or work inward, if you will. So we'll come down here on the bottom first. And then we'll go back up. And again, continue to work inward, but this time on the top part. All right, and then now we're going to work outward, but on the center line. And then I'm going to come back here. All right, and then one more time. All right. And we're going to come back in here one more time with our burnishing tool. I saw a spot that got a little tight. Get that thread to stick down. Hold on. Right here. All right. And then now we're going to repeat that again, back up to step 2 with the yellow thread. And we'll come back up here to the tip end. And we're going to come down on the inside. Okay, and we'll go back up to the top, come back down on the inner part on the other side. Okay. That was step 2. And then step 3, we're going to go down on the center line. Then we'll do it again. Okay, and then step 4, however, we're going to put down some more tape. And before I do step 4, I'm just unpacking these threads. Okay, so now we're going to go step 4 is the black, and we're going to do the outer edge of this. All right, and we'll come back down on the top. And then we'll go back down on the bottom. And then back down on the bottom. Okay. And then we come back with a burnishing tool, pack the black threads. And then we got to do that all directions. Sorry, excuse my hand, guys. And then we're going to do that going up on these red threads. And then coming back on these red threads. All right. Okay, so those are back to the black border threads, or step 4, if you will. Now we're going to repeat step 5, which is the red thread. And then once we get down here to the end, we're going to go back to the butt end and come back towards the tip end again. Again, working inwards. All right. And then we're going to come straddle the center line. And then one more time on the other side of the center line. And that is step 6. Okay. And that's done. I'm just going in here with my burnishing tool. And I'm just kind of looking around. All right. Okay. So I'm going to go back to step 2 with the yellow. Again, working inward. Okay. And then we will do that one more time, working inward. Okay. And now we're going to go to step 3, and we're going to go down on either side of the center line, working outward. All right, and then one more time, working outward off of the center line. Okay. Okay, and then what step 4 is going to be bordering with black thread again. Then we're going to come back down on the top part there. All right. And then we got to go back down. I accidentally cut that, but we actually got to go back down. On the bottom side here. Come back down. All right, and then we'll pull that tight, cut it. Then we got to come back in with our burnishing tool. And pack that black thread. Go the opposite direction. Now I'm going kind of this against the red here. And we'll do the same thing going down back. All right, so now that we've got that, we're going to come back with the red. Actually, I'm going to put a little bit more tape down. All right, so I'm going to come back down with the red, and we're going to repeat step 5. We're going to come down on the inner side. All right, now we're going to do that again on the top side. Working inward. And then we're going to do that again, working outward on the center line. Okay, and then one more time. With the red thread. And pull that tight. And then what we're going to do is come back in with the burnishing tool. And then now what we're going to do is we are going to go back to step 4 here in a moment. Yep, so now we're going to come back to step 4. And we're going to continue to finish out wrapping this in black. So I'm going to make a couple of passes each way on each side. So this will be the first set on the top side. And we'll go on the bottom. And come back on the bottom. And we're going to do that one more time. Now we're going to go back on the bottom side. And the bottom side. Okay. Let's pull that tight, cut that thread. All right, and then what we're gonna do is we're gonna come here with a burnishing tool, and we're gonna pack these black threads. And just packing these threads. I'm doing this kind of quick for you. And I'll show you something here. So all I would do now is I've got a couple options, right? So all I would do now is continue wrapping with the black thread. And so all I would do now is continue wrapping with the black thread, and that would that's what's going to help me close out this wrap. So if I just continue wrapping the borders with the black thread, that's going to help me close out this wrap, right? I can close it out in black all the way, or I can come back and use these other points for something else that I want to do. A different type of a thread wrap, if you will, or something like that. So that is a way to close out, or this is how to build the cross wrap. Now, I think a couple important things to talk about here, and you can see these threads that are loose, and I got to finish packing these things in, and I'm not gonna waste your time while I'm packing all these threads. But here's the takeaway. The takeaway is you have to remember when you're doing the cross wrap and you're making these checkered boxes on the inside, you need to have a 90-degree angle at your cross mark, right? Which we did. The next thing you have to do is experiment with the spacing. I used 1/8 of an inch from the center mark. So, the red dot was my mark, and then I went 1/8 of an inch on each side with the pencil. That's where I laid those initial threads. Now, I know it may seem hard to see, right? But the cross is the red and then the yellow, right? So it's not necessarily a square, it is a cross. This red part of the cross and this white part of the cross, or a plus sign really, will get larger if I continued to do the yellows and the wraps, or the yellows and the reds with the black. Then it would continue to get larger, right? Or longer each way, so a larger cross sign. But to do that, I would have to create more space than the 1/8 of an inch. So again, I did 1/8 of an inch. So if I wanted to make this a little bit longer, maybe I would do 1/4 inch on each side, and that would help me get a larger cross wrap in there, if you will. And then now it's just about going in with the pick, lining up my threads, right? Making sure all my threads are good and where I want them. I got a couple that I need to tighten in. But so now it's just going in and continuing out with the black thread filling in the space that I have created here, you know, with the dowel, continue to fill that space in. And then, or do something different, you know, add a different wrap in here to give it a different effect. So I hope this video helps. That is the cross wrap, you know, with 3 colors. I hope the video helps. I hope it gives you some ideas. And again, it takes a lot of practice. I am not an expert at doing, you know, anything that looks like a box or a cross. Like not really my favorite wrap to do. But this is definitely how you do the wrap. And it just takes some practice. I mean, I think mine looks good. But again, if I wanted to make it longer or bigger, then I need to adjust my space here. So that's some trial and error that you're going to have to figure out, right? But then again, the important thing is you got to have a 90-degree cross mark. And then you want to go start off at 1/8 of an inch. But if you want it to be a bigger cross, you're going to want to have a bigger space, like, you know, 4/16 or 1/4 of an inch, right? And it just depending on how big of the diameter rod you're using and how big you want the cross to look. So again, I hope this helps. If you found value in the video, please hit the like button. Please feel free to share with anybody you think may find it valuable. And as always, make sure you guys watch this next video here. Until next time, guys, take care. Bye.